CoinDesk is at the SALT conference live in New York City at the Javits Center. We have exciting conversations lined up all week long, and I'm really excited about our first guest. What better way to kick things off than with the founder of the SALT conference and SkyBridge Capital. We've got Anthony Scaramucci. Anthony, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Incredible. You know, I was just walking along the conference floor. I'm seeing Solana. I'm seeing Coinbase Institutional. We're next door to Gemini. They're our partners. Hey, the Gemini. This is the first time I've seen so many crypto companies at what I would call a mainstream conference.
Well, I would like to think of SkyBridge as one of the more mainstream institutions that moved into the crypto space. We have probably, counting our Ethereum position, Bitcoin position, something like $700 million in crypto assets now. This morning, we announced a Algorand fund. And so we're going to cap it at $250 million. We're working with Jeff Schumacher from the New Asset Exchange to help build protocols and digital applications related to Algorand. So before too long, we'll have 3 reasonably well-known cryptocurrencies in our stable of more traditional assets. So we've got ETFs, we've got hedge fund assets, we've got core long-only assets, and of course now we have crypto.
And this is the first time I would say that perhaps many people on Wall Street would be introduced to things like Algorand, a lot of altcoins in the crypto space. What's the feedback you're getting from these more traditional type folks?
Well, I think it's still early for them. I think the really good news for the people that are watching your program is that it's so early, and that if you're an investor now, stay long term. You're going to still go up the adoption curve. There's going to be volatility as a result of that. But I love the fact that we've got very large-scale investors here. There's 3,000 people registered. There's probably over 2,000 capital allocators in the room. I was going through the list of speakers, probably 18 billionaires here. Some of them are not invested in crypto yet, but I predict after an event like this, and a lot of these one-on-one meetings that they're doing with the likes of Sam Bankman-Fried and the Gemini guys or the Solana guys, you'll see a lot more investing and a lot more awareness. And this is what I would say. When very smart institutional investors do the homework, they end up getting exposure. And so that's one of the reasons why we brought so much crypto-like educational programming here.
I would love to hear your sales pitch on, when introducing crypto to these more traditional type folks, on why they should be entering the digital asset space.
So mine is a philosophical one. I sort of tie it back to Mark Andreessen, who said if you really understand the blockchain, it is a bigger protocol than the Webscape browser, the Netscape browser back in 1995. And what Mark has said to people is, if you just think about it for a second, that decentralized protocol, we can trust each other without a third party. And we can start moving assets, goods and services, and there will be 5 or 6 leaders in terms of their protocols, likely things like Ethereum, Bitcoin, Algorand, Solana, that will be the leaders of that new system that's building. And so once you can explain that to people and you can break it down in that way, they're like, okay, I need to have some exposure to this. The same way people in the mid-90s, frankly, needed exposure to the web. Some of the stuff on the web didn't work, frankly. We remember eToys and Pets.com and things like that. But also you have Google and Amazon. And eventually the second iteration through social media like Facebook.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Someone along the way explained to Warren Buffett, maybe move away from the Coca-Cola. You can still drink it as much as you like, but Apple's pretty cool as well. And so, so maybe you're one of the bridges.
Well, I'm hoping
for Wall
Street
in that regard.
And I heard Mr. Buffett speak right after. There was a guy by the name of Jeff Bezos. You've heard of the guy? Okay,
may have heard about him.
He spoke in 2000 at the Sun Valley Allen and Company conference, and he was laying out his long-term game plan. He was explaining the properties of Metcalfe's law, how he's going to create this global retail network. Mr. Buffett spoke right after him and said, listen, that's all fun and games, but he's not making any money, and he's losing money through this expansion, and I have no interest in investing in him. If you had put $10,000 in Mr. Bezos' IPO, Amazon's IPO on May 15th, 1997, it's worth $21,140,000 today. So I just want you to understand that these things can happen. You have exponential growth opportunities in several of these currencies because they are expanding. If something like Bitcoin, we're measuring it right now, our SkyBridge research team, probably 180 million wallets globally based on our measurement. If Kathy Wood is correct, we'll have 1 billion plus users by the end of 2025. 1 billion plus users in something that's got a fixed 21 million tokens. And you and I know, Christine, that many of these tokens were lost in the early inception of Bitcoin. There's probably 18 or 19 million tokens. You get 1 billion users, that price is going a lot higher. And so for me, when I start to explain it to people, and I think you know this, I just wrote a book, The Sweet Life, How I Learned to Stop Worrying About Cryptocurrencies and Start Loving Them, and you can too. It's a short little book. You can find it on Amazon. It's actually displayed out here at the conference.
Limitless energy, writing books.
But the thing is, I want to explain it to people. So we put a 100-page digest together talking about Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, what it means.
I did want to go over, I know SkyBridge has about 500 million.
About 700 now due to price appreciation.
Okay, so we have an update on that.
Yeah.
Before we had also talked about a DeFi fund potentially in the works, an ETH fund.
Yes, so we launched an Ethereum fund July 1st. We're launching an Algorand fund October 1st. Our Bitcoin fund, which started on, I think, December 23rd of last year.
And an NFT platform.
We have an NFT platform we're launching today. You could go to Flatter NFT. Now, I picked the name, so hopefully you guys like it. Okay, why Flatter? Well, a lot of these are tokens, they're gifts for people, so you're flattering people with the gift, but also we're trying to create a flatter society, in terms of the democratization of ownership. And so it's flatternft.com. We're auctioning off 2 different things. The first one is a ticket to next year's SALT conference and a commemorative whiskey bottle with art that was commissioned by the Flatter team. And then the second thing I think is a little bit more value. It's a lifetime membership to what I call the SALT ecosystem. So that's all our conferences globally.
Everyone and their mother is going to NFTs, and then Anthony's on top of it.
All of our VIP, yeah. So it's flatternft.com, and you can buy it through Stripe. So you can use fiat currency or a whole host of different currencies to buy these NFTs.
Just one last question.
Sure.
When you were last on, you had a prediction of about 100,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. Any update to that prediction?
So I still think that happens. I know that Bitcoin's been sort of in this trading range, 45 to 55,000, but track the news. I would suggest to people, track the news, the wallet expansion, and all of the different things that are happening related to the system. JP Morgan's coming on board. Morgan Stanley already announced one. Wells Fargo just announced one. And slowly but surely, there'll be more and more people in the system, a result of which is going to push up the price. And remember, it's early, so you're going to get a lot of volatility swings, but I still think we hit 100,000 by year end.
Actually, I want to touch on one more other thing. You also said it's quite possible that Bitcoin could become the currency of the world, and I meant the reserve currency in the world.
Yeah.
And as we see El Salvador making Bitcoin legal tender, Ukraine is talking about making Bitcoin legal tender. What are your thoughts as that transition comes along? And mind you, though, there are the critics. I mean, there were huge protests in El Salvador. There were technical glitches. We saw a price crash. But we're seeing the early steps of something.
Oh, so we're very early. You and I both know that. There's about 2% world saturation right now. But I just want you to think about a currency that can't be manipulated, a currency that can't be influenced by policymakers or politicians. That's what this technology is providing. And so what ends up happening to people, whether they like it or not, if your government is printing money, and our government printed about $500 trillion this year, increased the money supply 37% over the last 18 months. And so when you're doing that, you're actually taking from people. That's a form of taxation. Your $10,000 in your bank account last year is worth $9,200 today in terms of its purchasing power. And as that confidence starts to erode, you'll see things like Bitcoin or other assets become very attractive to people. And certainly in countries like El Salvador, other Latin American countries, when they look at the cost-benefit analysis of adopting a Bitcoin, it becomes more and more compelling. And of course, Algorand is the backbone for a lot of the health services and governmental services of El Salvador now.